So,
do you always get such a set because this is the
action. Right, welcome to the November meeting of the Whangamata Community Board, and in attendance we have all board members, so we have no apologies. So we now move to item 3, the public forum, and I understand there are at least 2 going to present to the public forum. I'll just wait for Jennifer to bring in the first speaker. Well, there's a concerned resident wants to come along and talk to us.
Well, it's all, she actually sent it to me and I forwarded it to you, and there's a second one with, that she's putting signs up for everyone to attend. Like, they think it's a public meeting on. I just thought that's what just came to mind, that's why I popped out of it.
Perfect, it's only just
Pushed out right now, I know.
perfect.
Don't they realise they don't get speaking?
No, they don't. I'm just... Yeah.
Some of them will probably shout something.
Oh, well, then yeah, pre-warned is pre-armed or whatever.
You'll have to get out of town again.
Yeah, well, I am. And,
yeah. Oh wow, that's quite a flyer.
Very good.
obviously they're all going around town.
Yeah, they're putting flyers in the boxes.
They're doing what? They're putting this in mailboxes?
No.
Oh.
No, just about public meeting, so the public hearing.
Hello.
Morning, Helen.
Hi, Helen.
Hiya.
Welcome.
Space on the back as well.
Okay. Lisa, the speaking spot is there, so you'll be pulled up.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Another seat here, Mr. Lloyd?
Right, welcome, Helen. You know the drill. The floor is all yours, so start when you're ready.
Okay. I'm just introducing the new Waste Resource Recovery Trust. The Waste Minimisation Act was developed in 2008 to encourage a reduction of the amount of waste going to landfill and to provide wider social, economic and cultural benefits. The Act also aims to improve information on effective waste minimisation and to clarify the roles and responsibilities of council to control the disposal of products and materials. Apart from plastic, paper and glass roadside recycling collection services to our community, we have seen little else in the way of local action to divert waste from the transfer station. After 12 years of the Act being in place and many reviews of the current activities, we must work harder and move beyond the most basic services. The volume of goods being tipped into the pit increases every year, with no apparent option to the public to change their dumping habits or to recover valuable resources for reuse, repair or repurposing. The Whangamata Resource Recovery Trust has been formed to address this shortfall on behalf of and in conjunction with our resident and commercial consumers, and we seek the support of TCDC to enable a range of services be installed on council land. Once our trust has an established location for this service, we will apply for funding from a range of funders, including New Zealand Waste Minimisation Fund, which receives waste levies charged to the users of transfer stations. The Seagull type centre is just one goal for the trust, but will be a critical starting point. Our community is showing a genuine interest in participating in local efforts to have alternatives available for the recovery of unwanted goods and the recovery of valuable components. They know that out of sight doesn't mean that the problem is not there. It is just shifted somewhere else at great cost to the ratepayers. It's time to be in control of the situation at local level.
Thank you, Helen. And we are going to have a discussion later on, so we'll hold questions to them. Thank you. So next we have Lisa McNee. Lisa, like to go forward.
Hi,
Welcome.
thanks. I'm concerned about Joe's Farm. They're applying for a 10-year consent to run 6 concerts a year for 20,000 people. And so at 1 o'clock in the morning, so the concerts are the 30th of December and the 31st. And once it becomes 1 o'clock in the morning, they're going to bus 10,000 people into town. So we're talking 10,000 people who have been drinking. Some of them may have accommodation and some of them may not. I don't think there's been any public consultation yet. When you go to the TCDC website and look at the consent tracker, it says that it had to come up for public consultation. Yesterday I made a flyer and I went to the bus stops in Whangamata where those buses are going to stop, and I handed out my flyer, but I didn't just put it in their letterbox. I knocked on the door and I told them what this was about and what I wanted. I wanted them to come to the meeting today, and I wanted them to come to the application for alcohol on Thursday. And all of those people that I knocked on the door, not one of them knew about it. Some of them knew about Joe's Farm. They knew about the concert last year, but the concert last year was 8,000 people. This time it's going to be 20,000 people, but the 10-year consent means that there will be 6 concerts a year. So 6 times a year, they're going to just drop 10,000 people up in town to do what they like. And you know what, I don't know about you, but I actually take pride in my town, and I'm not happy about them coming into town and smashing our town. So on Saturday night, just the Saturday just gone, letterboxes were smashed. There were maybe 10 people in town. So you know what's going to happen when there are 10,000, let's face it, they're not just going to be drunk, they're going to be wasted on whatever they get, you know, whatever they take these days. And so we don't have enough police for that. We don't have enough St. John's for that. We don't have enough doctors. We don't have enough infrastructure to manage the 100,000 people or 60,000 people that are already in town. How are we going to manage 10,000 drunk people being dropped off 2 nights in a row? The 30th of December is usually a fairly quiet night. I live right in the main street. The 30th is usually pretty quiet. The 31st is pretty loud, and so is the 1st. So we're getting people dropped off on the night of the 30th, clicking into the 31st. So you know what, people like me are going to be awake all night phoning the police and saying, oh my God. You know what, it's not okay.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you for the information you've sent. I forwarded to the rest of the board.
Thank you.
Okay. And next we have Matthew Lloyd.
Hi, I'm here on behalf of Lisa's flyer, which I got yesterday. I had to find my glasses to read it. I remember the bottle riots in town when the police were pushed back to the surf club, and it took Gary Clarkson 3 loads of glass to get away the glass in the morning. In the following summer, Ross Moran brought the rec squad here to sort everybody out. Now we've had really peaceful New Year's Eves ever since. I went to Joe's Farm last year. I know Dennis Beaver and Stu Goldsworthy, the promoters. I know Manolo. I don't know this new promoter. But I think 6 concerts over 10 years of 20,000 people per concert. You moved to Whangamata for a reason. And it's not to I wear bare feet a lot. I don't like picking glass out of my feet. I think this is usury. And I think it's greedy. I think there's a lot of ego involved. And I think you should look at not allowing this to happen. As to what happens this New Year's Eve, well, they'll need their liquor licence, don't they? Because you need to pay for these things. But last New Year's Eve went very well, I thought. I felt very old, but I had a good look. I just think we have to think about Whangamata as a community. And as Lisa, I'm lucky, I live with my mum on a big quiet house. Lisa lives in the main street. We don't need riots in the main street. We don't need people breaking down the door. I used to work in the bakery and I had people breaking down the door at 4 in the morning because they needed a feed. I hadn't finished baking the pies. You know, there's only so, it's all about money, and people agree that this is just a greedy thing. And if it's going to go ahead, then the TCDC has to look at getting more money out of these promoters to rebuild the sewage ponds, because we only take 100,000 a day between Christmas and New Year. Beach Shop, we've got 150,000 people here. Do we really want sewage running into the harbour because the septic, all the sewage is overrunning because people have been dumped in town with nowhere to go to the toilet? That's all I've got to say.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, are there any more public speakers?
Hello, sorry I'm late. As
Okay.
always.
Your name is?
Kristen Lopez, yes,
Okay.
I'm the one on Facebook. I've worked at concerts for most of my life. I worked on Big Day Out for 10 years for Bridget Darby, who and a sequel, who were the New Zealand promoters with Ken West. So I know how a well-oiled machine goes, and I also know what happens if you don't get it right. Look, I'm all for a big concert. God give me strength if I see Neil Diamond again, I would. However, when you've got 3 nights of a concert, and what I was led to believe that it was going to be staying at Joe's Farm, a bit like Sweetwater's. I'm sure we've all been to one of those in Newcastle. However, this one is not like that at all. So you've got a whole lot of people trucked into a concert and trucked out again. So I believe in concerts, and I believe in the Big Day Out in that format. So if you have 3 nights, make it one long night, because now we've got all these kids with no facilities being trucked into town. Now that's going to be our problem and the ratepayers' problems, where it should be the promoters' problems. If you've got all those security people at the concert, what about afterwards? And then again, each night, which is going to be our problem, not the promoters. I think the promoters should be liable for maintaining and allowing the right facilities, including food, sleeping areas and all that for these people each day. I don't think that we should be lumped with that. And when it works like that, then it's a really good system. 3 days for most people is a long, long time to be full on 3 days. Things will get quite cranky after that. But if they had that, if they contained it at Joe's Farm, then I would be for it. That's a lot of organisation, and it takes a long time to do it. Marketplaces selling food, I'm all for, but none of that is going to be happening here. So we're just having random 3-night concerts with town taking care of the bill. And, you know, I don't want that to reflect on my rates. And I also don't want to reflect on Whangamata to allow a concert that's not fully prepared or fully organised well enough, or, as Matt said, greedy enough to not provide facilities for those 10 to 20,000 people at all.
Thank you. Thank you for this.
Please.
I went to Joe's Farm last
Sorry, your
year.
name, please.
Kathleen Wiley.
Kathleen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I went to Joe's Farm last year with my husband, and the first part of it was nice. They played nice soft music. But then suddenly, and they bussed people in, buses and buses and buses. And it didn't appear to me that they were checking their bags for drugs. And yet suddenly there's all these people that are on these psychedelic drugs roaming around the place and coming up to me and my husband and touching us and stroking us and, oh, you're beautiful, and all of this crazy stuff. And I said to my husband, we've got to get out of here. And at that same time, there was a man lying on the ground. His legs and arms were bound up in a ball, and he'd obviously taken too many drugs, and he was rolling around like a ball, smashing into people, and suddenly the police came after some time, and the St. John's, and they couldn't subdue him. They actually had to inject him to subdue him, and they had to arrest him. And I said to my husband, oh, and the next thing I noticed was that the music changed. And I said to my husband, this is devil music. Now, I don't say that lightly because I love all sorts of music, but this electronic music, it alters the brain. And with these drugs, you get delusions, you get crazy, you get insane. And this is what's happening out there. This is the new generation who are exploring these dangerous drugs, and we're giving them license to do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will never go there again.
Resolution. I don't think it was devil music.
Oh, it was, believe me.
Okay, would someone like to move the public forum? We receive those. Terry, seconded by Kay. All those in favour? Aye. Yes, carried. Thank you for those contributions. So are there any items not on the agenda? No. And anyone got conflicts of interest? No conflicts. So move to item 1.6, minutes for confirmation. They're the minutes of the last meeting. Someone like to move those before I go there?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any matters for discussion?
I'll just raise in my members' report about the CCTV cameras,
Okay. No further discussion. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Now we move to item 2.1, the application for discretionary funds utilised from Whangamata. So we've got the report there.
What page are you on, sorry?
Page 19.
Page 19. So this is an application from Enterprise from Whangamata looking for some funding for erecting the signs and possibly lighting them to the end of town. So
These are the entrance signs.
entrance signs, yeah. So open it for discussion before we move
I don't actually have any problem with stands. I do have quite a few problems though with the lighting. I don't see it lasting.
No.
I think it's a sure hit for vandalism. I'm quite happy with the stands for the sign, but I'm not happy with the forecast.
I agree that the solar lighting won't last very long. It'll be stolen very quickly, particularly in the areas that it's in. It's not as if it's there's close residence of that for.
Another point I make on the lighting is that the quote was for twice what they've asked for because
Yeah, well, I saw that.
they've only put in half the lighting, so it's actually a lot more than.
And there was only one quote.
Yeah.
And the other suggestion I'd like to make is that any sign be covered in perspex so that if there is spraying of that over it, that it could be protected and the actual sign's integrity is maintained.
Smart RV do go around if you ask them and they'll put on the protective paint. Smart RV. I mean smart.
So judging on the discussion, it sounds like there's willingness to approve the lighting, the stands funding, which is $1,389. Is that? Yeah. So if we change the resolution, so approve part of the request for $1,389 rather than the $5,491, and take out the word lighting for the notice board frames. Remove the word lighting there.
I'll move that.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Kay. All those in favour?
So, sorry, does that include the whole construction of the notice board?
The notice boards have been done.
Yeah,
It's just the amount of all the.
Put them in a range.
Yeah,
so that will allow them to complete it.
yeah. Without the light. Okay, that's been moved by Gary and seconded by Kay. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. Next item we have is the application from the Indoor Bowling Club.
Are we able to receive an update of what's remaining in the discretionary fund?
So that's, the balance is there, 16,735.
Okay.
So now that you've taken 1388 out of that, it will be full balance.
About 15,000.
Yeah.
So I'll open this for discussion.
Don't mention in there, what the membership to belong to the club is.
Every time you want a child at home.
No, there's no information there. Normally these sorts of groups tend to have a gold coin entrance on the day. They may not have a membership fee, but you pay $2 or whatever. In the past, this is the sort of thing we've normally considered through the community grants applications. So this is a bit outside the normal process. My personal view is I'd like to help them in some way this year. When we didn't have a lot of information, I'd be happy to go with 50% and let them collect the rest through their $2. So, yeah.
Why does it not make an application through the community grant process?
Because they actually didn't know about it until I actually spoke with Norm about it, so I instructed them that if the board do agree to help them out this time, it's a one-off, so they will have to apply for a community grant next year.
Because that way you're comparing them with other clubs rather than doing them in isolation is not the best way in terms of getting equity across the board. So I'll move the 730 as a one-off. Seconded by Kay. Any further discussion? If not, I'll put that. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. Moving along to infrastructure and so the first board item is item 3.1, the Exclusion Project. So we've had this Ross is there. So this is the first part is so this isn't to do with the ancillary items. This is just the pure boardwalk, and we've had an updated report with the plan. So thank you, Ross.
Yep, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Would you like me to just go through it as an overview for the board?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yep, okay. So just a bit of a summary of where we got to. We had obviously a lot of submissions on the project, quite a lot of support. We've had a lot of consultation now with Department of Conservation and iwi, and that's led to some of this detailed design coming through. The certificate of compliance for Waikato Regional and the district plan, TCDC's district plan, has been issued as well for the project. So from a effects-based consenting RMA point of view, it's considered permitted. So that's another step through the process. We looked at, I guess, the detailed design. Just looks at the section from the existing boardwalk through to Graham Street. The methodology that we're suggesting is based on that trial which the board granted, and that's working really well. It's a lot more of a reduced structure, and it's quite a, I guess, more of a soft approach on the top of the dunes.
Can I just ask, did you get any
yes,
feedback from you were asking for feedback?
Yes, we did. There was a range of feedback. Some were like, just get on and do it. Others were, oh, look, it's, we're not sure about the longevity of it and erosion and things like that. I think the way that it's been constructed on rails either side will help to fix it a little bit more. And basically, because it's 10-metre sections, you can shift it around. It gives a lot more flexibility for any future issues with erosion. So that I think it's quite a good approach to the construction. So we've used a local, procured a local architect to do the work, and we'll probably go with him for the full work. He might subcontract more local construction companies, so that's another win, and it's going to be a little bit cheaper than going elsewhere to town or something like that. So that's good. So you've got a bit of a plan in front of you, which includes the boardwalk section, timber decking. There are a couple of static elements that need to be in place where it connects to the existing boardwalk. So there's a section which needs to be constructed, which includes some of the P&L lashings of the different angles. That's a traditional boardwalk construction method where it connects into the existing one, and then down at Graham Street end, because it's a little bit more complicated down that end just to tie it into that node. So there's a little bit of a different methodology there. This plan includes 2 nodes. It's the Graham Street, there's a concrete pad, which I think is quite a cost-effective approach. It goes away from, to build that as a traditional boardwalk, it's quite expensive. What it also does do is it has a bit of a nod to some of the iwi requirements there. We may be able to do something subtly into the concrete to reflect that. Nothing grandiose, but something subtle. They talk about the matar, maybe the obsidian flecks or something like that. So some black flecks in the concrete and possibly some kind of sandblasting pattern in it. So that could be quite an interesting effect. So basically, the boardwalk as it is, it's pretty straightforward. There's a bit of a question mark on the 2 staircases or the access points from the car park to the boardwalk into the beach. And the cost estimate basically looks at retaining one of the, or refurbishing them both. And there was an option basically of looking at concrete node 2, so in the middle of the boardwalk. So there's an existing staircase or access point, and the idea was to create another smaller node. So that's been identified separately under item 3 in the cost estimate. So that's there for you to have a look at. It's probably one that if you did want to look at saving money, you could take out. I think it's probably makes sense to break it up a little bit, but it's up to the board, I guess.
So we're on that plan is that.
So on the plan, so if you look at the middle of the boardwalk, there's a bit of a sort of a grey patch in the middle there with 2 boardwalk sort of extensions of it.
And that one.
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that bit there, sorry. Yeah, it's shown there in this one here. So that just sort of, I guess, is an idea to break it up a bit more.
And the other 2 stairwell, the ones with the rail, whereabouts are they in relation to that?
Yeah, so they, there's this one here.
You want to just make
Halfway along.
Yeah.
From that other one.
So that's the existing one there.
Yeah.
And then that's the existing one there as well.
And the new one's going to be?
There won't be a new one. There'll be down the other end of Graham Street. There'll be a boardwalk from the and then we refurbish those 2 stairs, with probably replaced with wood. And
the middle one is where
there's a
carpentries and
so that's another point.
Just put them
the board may wish to consider. I've broken out the costs.
That's for the next item.
Yeah.
No, we won't deal with that now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ross, can I just ask, at the entrance there where it joins the boardwalk?
Yes.
Why is that not had a straight? See how it sort of goes up like that? Because that is the wheelchair access there. And I'm just wondering, has that been taken into account?
So
see where that round table thing is.
Yeah.
That access there, straight in front of it, is wheelchair.
Yes. And that area there is that concrete? I'm just trying to remember.
It's
that
concrete.
Yeah. So what this is doing is it's teeing into that concrete.
Yeah, and I'm
so,
just wondering
yeah.
why it's not actually just a bit further, see like that there, see how it goes up on a slant?
Yes.
Is that necessary? Why couldn't it not be?
That's where you incorporate as a
So
design.
that you can actually come off there?
Yeah, I think what the purpose is that it links into that concrete slab that's already there, and that concrete might be at a slight angle.
So
Yeah,
that's
so
what
the wood is just butting up against the
Yeah, I know.
concrete, and you'll have a flush surface.
Because there's already wood there that goes to it.
Yes, so on that side, so this
Yeah.
will repeat the same on the new side.
It's just, I'm wondering, it does need a good turn.
Yeah, turning area, yeah, I mean, I think you'll find, because that's almost 3 metres of board
Should be,
there.
should be
Quite a big area.
So it looks
Yeah.
like that. I think it's still flat.
What's the intention for the other beach access ways? Is
Yep.
on the drawing, there's only one beach access sign to remain, so
Beach access sign,
that little blue and white symbol.
oh, yes, no, I mean, the intention would be all the signs to be kept
Okay, so we're
there,
not
yeah.
planning on
I
doing anything.
don't think so. I think that people need to know, and also the cycle of lifesavers
Yeah.
need that for reference, yeah.
And my other point was, under the discussion, item 2, I thought we've agreed to just exclude the second item of saying that we plan to continue it through the dunes, like we've discussed a number of times about this being its own project.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, this is purely for just the esplanade.
Yeah, but so we're still including the reference about a natural boardwalk through the dunes.
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah. Yes. That was a bit of a background around what happened during that discussions with the public. And what I guess we're referencing, originally when we went out, we had the whole length, including that natural journey area. So this is saying basically from the feedback, you know, when people did look at that natural area, they wanted a natural boardwalk, but that's just a bit of background. Now the board have scaled that right back.
Yeah,
to.
but we, so when we continue to include it, we're saying that we plan that there's a stage 2, and we've decided that we're not going to separate this into stage 1 and stage 2. We're deleting any reference to stage 2. Like we've discussed this.
I think that what we're doing is putting stage 2 on hold. And
But I'm saying there is no stage 2. It'll be in a future project, and it will go through the same proposal and consultation process.
I thought it was just going to be up for.
So it needs to go through the long-term planning
So
process.
then we shouldn't be continuing to reference it within this project.
Okay, yeah. I see.
Not in terms of what we're doing here.
Yes, that's why I'd like to delete the reference.
Yep. You could make it clear in the resolution if you wish to say that it's just for the esplanade, any reference to stage 2 is not considered a
There is
stage.
no stage 2.
There is no, yeah, don't reference stage 2.
Not measured and so.
Well, the resolution, what we're approving is only for the esplanade.
Correct.
Yeah. So I don't see the
Well, we just
resolution.
need to make it really clear, and so I don't want to continue to see references to a stage 2 when we've had so many discussions about that not being part of it.
Well, it makes it clear, I agree.
Well, so do we need to just put the word esplanade in there?
But it's got the esplanade.
No, but not in the resolution.
Yeah, so after that, where you've got it there, that's it, yeah.
Esplanade
I would imagine.
section?
For the esplanade, was the esplanade drive or road?
It just says the Whangamata Esplanade improvements, doesn't it?
It says beach access along the esplanade, but what is?
Yeah, but no, if you look at what we're resolving, just want to make sure that what we're resolving is the design for the esplanade section.
It's got supports the investigation and construction of a boardwalk to be installed at a beach access along the esplanade. How much clearer is it?
I'm talking about under the discussion
Yeah,
items,
yeah.
it's still referenced.
Yeah, I know, on, yeah.
And how can you swap that? That's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with the esplanade in the resolution.
Or you could put only, or to approve the details on this esplanade.
It's got the esplanade.
Yeah.
It doesn't in the resolution, that's why we're updating
No,
it.
yes, so.
Talking about 3.1 now, 3.2 references the esplanade, 3.1 is what we're on now, so you will need to add
that word Esplanade.
Yeah, no, we've got it in there now, so
No, we've seen that drive
area or?
we'll just.
to Graham Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we're approving, the design to there, construction to there, nothing else, yeah. And noting, then, state commence after March 21, have you got, construction time?
Yeah, we've got it penciled in with Dave Arts. So he's working on a whole lot of residential stuff at the moment. He comes free around March. Once we've got this locked in, then we put it into a contract and we give it to him and say, there you go.
So how long do you think it would take?
It'd probably take 12 weeks, I would imagine.
Okay, it'd be over the winter, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Can we please
Well,
get
actually, it's
the,
a possibility, isn't it?
can we get the digger estimate sent through to us?
Yes, you asked for that night, sorry, I wasn't going to get that, yeah.
Okay, well, I'll move with that amendment to Esplanade Drive to Graham Street. And there's someone like to second that, seconded by Tamsin. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. So now we move on to ancillary improvements along the Esplanade.
Yes. So, as we're working through this, there's a lot of furniture that you'll spend a lot of money improving that area. And there's some existing furniture that's a little bit ratty or you might want to improve. So there's three options basically provided, and that gives a bit of a range of sort of features which are attached. The first one, which is around the 71,000, has the main difference there. It has a lot of the chunky macrocarpet slab seating. Provides picnic tables. I think the picnic tables are quite well used and they're being replaced like for like, just shuffled around a little bit. The cost also include dual bins as well, and a significant sort of feature seating down the Graham Street end. So that's the kind of the biggest difference really with the other two. The next one includes the macrocarpet slabbing, seating, the rubbish bins, but excludes those feature seats down Graham Street end. And then the last one basically takes out a lot of the macrocarpet seating. That's the seating that's basically at the moment along facing the sea, just sort of on that seaward side, close to where the dunes start. We'll get rid of any of those and just provide some simple bench seating. So those are the kind of the range of options there.
I just ask, I thought we've discussed the upgrading the shower area.
Yes.
And this seems to remove the concrete slab but not reinstate or upgrade.
So good point. And the shower also was raised by Terry from War Shower. And I will change it so that it includes those. They just dropped off. The shower unit will be basically the existing one down Graham Street will have the boardwalk area constructed up to it. So it'll have a nice wooden feel to it, and you'll have the existing shower there. It won't be directly on sand. It'll be on that wooden boardwalk part. So what we can do is then also include another couple of showers somewhere along the walkway there. And I guess it'd be nice to understand where probably a good appropriate places would be for those. It might lend itself to the middle and the end, I don't know.
That would seem to make sense.
Yeah.
What would be the approximate cost of putting a couple more showers?
It's probably going to be in the vicinity of around 10 to 12,000.
Because if we wanted to, and I think most of the probably support more showers,
Yeah.
if they're quite functional,
Yes.
people would do appreciate them.
Yes.
What I struggle with is while they look very nice, the new rubbish bins, we've got a lot of rubbish bins there now which are perfectly functional, and I would prefer to just reuse what we've got for the rubbish bins and put the resource of the things people are going to enjoy rather than just where they're going to throw their lunch wrappers.
Yep.
So, $4,000 for a rubbish bin is very expensive. So Can we just move the existing rubbish bins and continue to use them?
Yep.
And then that will free up some money for the showers. Also question whether we want to be planting any new Purukara trees. So I'd suggest we remove planting new trees. We've got trees there now and we should look after them, but we don't want to be putting in new ones. That's just my thoughts.
What is the fund available from the Whangamata subdivision reserve?
You mean how much is there? There's about $500,000.
Right.
But this could be used for reserves right through the district. So we don't want to go overboard on rubbish bins here when we might have other needs further down the track. So just what the importance there.
Yeah, I agree with what Ken's saying, that we, this maybe is a cost saving, because we don't want to lose what we're doing here though. It's a special piece that we're trying to spend some good money on and make it attractive and the people enjoy it. The one around the showers that I'm keen about is having the shower obviously, but also a water tap or something like that, so they can fill their water bottle or drink. It's really important around those shower areas. So if they can be considered, it'd be great.
And also the bottom tap door should be,
Yes.
not just the shower.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I see these places, I don't want to have a dog, but they have this bit of stainless steel where the water goes into the dog. Whether that's possible, I don't have a dog, I'm just...
Yeah, we had it. That was quite a good idea.
Yeah.
While we're talking about the Espanola, and that sort of leads on to the next bit, but we've got the photographs to look at it. On page 45, you'll see the photographs of where we will be talking in the future.
Can we hold off on that one?
No, because we're talking about spending money on the Espanola. And what I'm talking about is, if you look at the trees and the bits that go around them, they really are shabby. They really need some, I think they could probably be made a bit smaller and more attractive because they're way past use by now. It's, and if we're going to be sprucing up their stuff, we make it look all a bit nicer around there.
You can do a lot with low level plants as well.
Well, I don't know if they need plants, just to tidy it. You might make them smaller because that seems to be causing a bit of a problem. They were made smaller and newer, a bit more classy. Because I wouldn't had a particular guest day, and while I was there, a couple of people came along to go in, and they said, "Oh, this is rough, isn't it?" It really does look shabby, and I think they need tidying up and to be made smaller. That's all I'm saying.
There may be an opportunity. I think the board were talking about a footpath along that Esplanade section on the seaward side. That was taken out to save funds. There might be an opportunity through the LCP to put in some money for the footpath, and then to extend that to have a look at improving something in those chicanes there. They're probably there for a reason in terms of slowing traffic down, but there might be some opportunity to improve them, how they look.
So at the moment, we've got a mixture of bark and sand along there, and it gets a lot of it. What would it cost to, not necessarily concreting, but putting some sort of...
What about a hogging path?
Have to look at that. You have to just take it out, put in the gap 30 to base, and then hog it on top of it. But actually, because it's got a curve there, which the hogger needs something harder to go against, so it might work. I mean, it depends what you want to do. You could put a resolution whereby you may be up for funding that as part of it, as a cost saving between footpath and something more expensive, and say to look into that.
But if you do the numbers on the alterations considered, and if there's some money there, I'm sure that we'd be...
Can it be done out of the same fund?
I'll need a resolution to say, and to investigate, funding improvements along that curb line there, which could include a hogging path, and you might want to set a upper limit on that cost.
Well, I heard it was $130 a metre, was it?
Yes, I think so, 130 per metre. 2 metre wide.
2 metre wide, and this is only a metre wide, so give you an idea of the cost. At 75 bucks a metre times 100.
So we're doing it just to tidy it up, obviously, not,
Yeah.
we're not encouraging traffic.
To walk along there.
Yeah.
Well, no, you could, if you've done the loop along the boardwalk, then you can walk along the whole path.
We're moving the rubbish bins back so it makes it more accessible. The odd vehicle does peek its nose over there, but I'm sure it'll still get past.
So you could, based on that, I mean, I think it's about 600 metres. I think it's a bit longer than.
600 metres, is it?
Yeah, I'll double check that.
Hey,
So you could put an upper limit of about 45,000.
Yeah.
And
See
say, look, up
if
to
there's
that
money
point.
there.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Well, we can look at that. I just want to get the feel of the board for the seating that's, and the
Yep.
tables that are seated.
I'll double check it.
Go to the circle and to the road.
Is there any breakdown, Ross, on those, you know, how much for the seats, how much for the bins?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that was the report.
And
Yeah, I
we
haven't
received the proposed
So in the
design
report,
plan, because we've
look
only
at
got the
this.
demolition plan, which is quite confusing.
So you mean this one?
Yeah, number.
Yeah, have they not, oh, so the next page, they not done it.
Well, they want
correct,
all
yeah?
this.
Oh, like this, you mean?
Yeah.
So that is the detailed design, that one there, we
It's
have
the
to,
demo plan though.
Just run a conversation, please, Kate. Kate.
it says detailed design on there, but,
It says demolition plan, and it's just,
what it might be highlighting is all those red marks
yeah,
are all the seats that are cut going out
right,
and going to be replaced.
yeah, but it would be helpful to have the next row with the comments of what's been put in, rather than the comments about what's been.
Yeah, so the black, see those there? Those are the new seats. I know it's quite small.
Yeah, but typically you'd have another drawing about the comments.
Oh, rather than having them all on one. Yep, yep.
You not have that,
I had just that.
okay.
Ken, while we're just looking at things for Ross to look at, I'll just raise what I've raised before. Williamson Park, the crossing over Ocean Road to where the access way is for, rather than having to go on the road where cars are, where that place is, you do go and they dug it out a bit, so it's a bit easier, but it's still steep as anything. Whether you can look at a way that might be able to be made more easy for people with wheelchairs, prams and all sorts of things, because it's by nigh impossible to get over there. And that's just, if you're looking at things, and also from when you get across the road there, you could have a path going along the edge of the park around to join up, or somehow to join up to what the boardwalk is. It just would be a nice thing to look at, tying it all up, because, you know, that's the busiest place really in summertime where people want to go. And watching them try and cross the road is pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, there might be an opportunity through the LTP to, like, because when this is done, you know, there might be some other connections that you might say, oh, look, that makes sense.
It all ties in.
Yep, yep.
But what I was meaning, Ross, is you've got, like, back further, you've got the three options.
Yes.
But nowhere does it say, I mean, I know you've got these dots and that there, but nowhere does it say the difference between a bench seat, picnic seat, a refuse recycling bin. What is the breakdown? Like, you've got 71,400
Oh, sorry, yeah.
and then 53,000, but your basic is still
So that
47,500.
table,
It's next to the
Yeah, I
diagram.
know it's here,
Yeah.
but how, you know.
so these numbers here are the ones that translate to those numbers. And then the breakdown is here. So that's the quantity and that's the.
Yeah, I realise that, but
Yep.
what I'm saying is, why are we looking at all these?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, and it's up to the board for you guys to go, well, that, you know, rubbish bins can raise, that maybe that's just not a good idea. Maybe you save some money and keep the existing.
Just,
Yeah.
So 4 out of the current bench seats have plaques on them, do they?
Yes.
And so what was the process for obtaining funding from the community to have a plaque, and can we do it for the furniture that doesn't have a plaque on it?
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I'll have to talk to Lou about that, and we're going to go to all those people who do have current plaques and see if we can relocate them onto the new furniture.
Yeah.
And then anything new, we might have to have just a list of how many new items we have, and if there's people that are interested, but I can talk to Eileen and Lou about that.
That funding would then just go back into the reserve.
Yeah, would it reduce the cost of this?
It's still.
Yeah, but you know, it is money coming in, yep.
Just run through, Iwi's obviously interested in having some input here.
Yes.
So obviously I've seen some patterns that they want to do on the board,
Yep.
discussion like that, and some information, is this?
Yeah, so they were quite keen on storyboards and some patterns. So there's 2 spots for storyboards, one at the Grand Street node end, which you could have a small storyboard there.
Yeah.
And then the other one possibly at the other end. And then you've got the reference to P&L in the planks, and then also possibly something on the in the concrete. Yeah. So the concrete idea, there's cost estimate just for the black fleck in there, the reference Matar, and then possibly there's about an estimate of about 14 grand for some water sand blasting of those patterns. And I would imagine they might be just on the edge of the concrete.
Yeah.
But they're built into these figures.
They are, yeah.
What about the storyboards?
I'm using another budget code for that one. So I've ring-fenced those with Lou. I've got to make sure no one else gets their hands on that as well. Yeah. So that's quite critical. Yeah.
And when is the Heritage Fund next available?
Heritage Fund's next available 1st of July next year.
So it could almost be
Oh, yeah.
end of construction of
Construction,
this.
that might work.
Your bucket of money
Yeah.
disappears.
And if it stays in the LGP, you'll have that same amount, 6,100, which
Would have been the cost, would it not?
Well, I haven't had any feedback as to what's quality of seating people want, but so to put in order, I'll go with option A, with the removal of the rubbish bins, removal of the putakala trees, and adding in reference to the showers. Well, there was something else we were going to add. And asking that staff report back on options for providing a hobbit path along the frontage.
Did you want to put a maximum
Of 50,000.
Yeah, and then I basically I can report back, but we don't have to go through this process
Yeah.
again. Yeah. And so just for clarity, do you want to see those feature seats at Grand Street end?
Yeah, they are an option A.
Oh, an option A, yep.
Yeah. Going with option A, so.
Yeah.
And we want, if we're going to do it, we want to make it look nice. Apart from the rubbish bins, which I think are completely extravagant.
Yeah.
And removing the trees.
Colours.
No, we remove those.
We don't need them.
We've got to.
They'll just get cut down. Seriously, they'll get poisoned or cut down, and we've wasted $9,000. No trees.
Two new showers.
A Hogan Park?
No, that's a separate resolution.
Okay.
So that's, and no Pahutakala new trees.
No new trees.
And remove the rubbish.
And reuse existing rubbish bins.
Recycle, reuse.
Recycle rubbish. Will it be sufficient of the old ones to use on that?
Well, there's about 11 of them, I counted one, I think, a lot.
Yeah, that's quite a lot.
And then, we've got a current arrangement with Smart Environmental, unless they're overflowing where you know that there's a problem there, so that should be okay.
I reckon the men's should.
And if you add extra, it costs extra from the start.
Ross, can I just raise a little point around, and it's most of that budget you're playing around with on the side?
Yeah.
About the signage on these entrances, about getting them in a way that tells the story without overdoing it.
Yeah.
It's just making sure that.
Absolutely. So I think
Well,
the way I think we might be dealing with it is more reference to the geology and the landscape. So that's probably going to take some time to get through, and I'll bring that back to the board and get to a point. Yeah.
right. I'm removing reference to the value because we're adding showers, we're taking out rubbish bins that need to be recalculated. As long as we say what we want done, then you get the message. It's option A with those alterations. And we'll have a third resolution, which will be that staff investigate the provision of a Hogan path. Is that the
Hogan? Yeah. H.O. John. GIN, I think.
Yeah.
GGIN.
For a maximum cost of 50,000. And report back to the board. Yeah.
For what location? Do you want to put that in? Or do you want to?
It'll be along the,
Along the
Existing.
the
The
existing curve.
existing curve.
from, yeah,
At the moment, it's
to
just.
Graham Street. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So you can loop around on the whole, back on the Hogan Path. Unless you want to then go down Graham Street.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's getting together well, Ross. Well,
Yep.
That's looking good.
No, it's, on number 2, you haven't finished included.
There'll be a few things I'll have to spruce up. I can't really see.
So I think, does everyone get the intention of what we're wanting? Jennifer can tidy it up for us later.
Yeah.
So I'll move that, someone second that, Tamsin seconded. All those in favour? Aye. It's carried. Thank you, Ross.
Thank you.
Looking forward to the last development. Cheers.
Parking now, are we?
Yes.
We do have presenters for that, I've sent an email.
Okay, we're on to the parking bylaw.
You've got my call. Yeah, that's it.
I'll get you back to here for you and you guys can take us here. I'll be dealing with that. Now, James, you see the, we just give you the section. You need some amendments if you wanted.
Oh, I got it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you, Liz.
Have a good day.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So we may not all get name. So
No,
This is Ed.
Ed. James. Okay.
I'm your new roading manager. So,
Welcome.
Ed Valley. Ed Valley, right manager.
Okay, so we have your report. So this is something we considered last time, and we were looking at an option to make the restricted area smaller, and I think the report's telling me that can't be done. So 3 metres rather than 6. So pass it over to you to elaborate.
Sure. Basically what was happening is that because of the angle of the chicane through the middle of the parking island is that cars were coming through them and it directs them to the left. Now if there's cars parked there, it restricts them from doing that. So they're cutting back and cutting over and taking out the sign. We've also since learned that delivery vehicles actually cross over onto the other side of the road because of the cars, if there's cars parked there as well. So that's essentially.
How many incidents you had of having to replace the signs?
We've only replaced a couple of signs.
Because it sounds like there's a lot of hearsay, but not a lot of data to back up.
No, that's right.
yeah,
That's right.
what you'd probably find in this case is a lot of the information is probably, I wouldn't say hidden, but the sign replacement would be the smaller side of the problem, if you like. What we don't know is how many vehicles are actually crossing over that island, which is unreported. We do know, just scroll down slightly. As you can see, the island is pushing traffic directly towards the area where people would be parked. And if it's a larger vehicle, as James says, a delivery vehicle, you've got the potential there that that delivery vehicle could hit the rear of the parked car. So what we've been told now is delivery vehicles are actually coming in on that side.
To avoid.
Yeah.
It's a very unmanaged area. It's sort of everybody finds their own way. The parking on the seaward side and on there is premium. That's where they all park.
Yes, that's right.
So the feeling is that if it can't be 3 metres, we don't want it at all. Because if you walk across the island by the people carving tree by the steps, you're actually still on the actual island piece as you walk onto the pathway, then up the steps. So we weren't gaining anything by putting a 6 metre thing in, because people wouldn't walk across this way, across the road. They just walk across the road where they see fit. But if you were going to walk across there, which is not a designated pedestrian crossing, but if you did, you would just walk onto the paving steps, onto the footpath, then up the steps. And it would have really little safety effect by having a 6 metre space to the right.
It's, yeah, the safety effect is not for pedestrians walking across there. It's if you have a vehicle parked there, then there's the likelihood that a car could hit it in a traffic.
But it was only raised
It's
because of pedestrian.
Yeah.
I mean, I take a camper there, a motorhome 7 metre through there. I don't have any problem with it, even if there's a long ute there. Maybe the best way would be to put a sign with a yellow line, cars only, so that you don't have a motorhome or something parked there, because I think that is what the problem is. When it's a longer van.
It was a pedestrian, wasn't it? It was raised?
No, it was raised.
No, it's raised without
that. What if you took out that island in the middle and put a judder bar or something to slow traffic, but wouldn't have the same
Doesn't have the same.
You wouldn't have the same problem. What you'd have there is noise generated by people driving across there. So it could be done, but
I'm not saying something you're going to launch off.
no, but
What about just the bump without the middle?
Through the chair, we generally try and avoid judder bars now where we can, because as James says, they are noisy. Cars are slowing down and speeding up, like trailers make a lot of noise when they go over judder bars.
And all the beach hop cars can appreciate.
Yeah, it's not ideal. I guess from my perspective, just to give you my 5 cents for what it's worth, is the team have looked at it and they reckon this is the best option to deal with the issues. You are going to lose a couple of car parks there, 2 or 3, maybe 4 car parks. Yeah, maybe 3 at the most actually. I think that's reasonable, but I hear what you're saying about it's a premium spot for parking. I think the board's given it a good go, and I mean, we talked about it last time, I didn't get the information to give you. We talked about maybe we could cut it back to 3 metres instead of 6 metres. I think the feedback from staff is that if you're trying to deal with the issue, it's a 6 metre no parking area, keep it clean, keep it simple, move on. But I understand what the board's wrestling with and trying to kind of.
Yeah, we are wrestling with it because, even if you move that centre piece the other way, so you diverted the other people to the quiet side of the road, those 3 or 6 car places will make a difference. People, when they're having a surf carnival or the beach is busy, just every car park along there is space.
Well,
People
when it's a premium time, people can just park on it anyway. So it's just for the rest of the year, people.
Why have it if you can park?
Because the rest of the year, hopefully, people will obey the rules.
Someone parks at the top of it.
How long has that actually been there? Does anybody know how long those chicanes have been? I mean, I can remember them being there for years.
I'd say, sorry, just jumping again, I'd say through the chair, this is our recommendation. If the board don't want to do it, they want to do something different, then that's fine.
Are you only recommending it because someone's complained?
Someone's complained.
Yeah,
It's one person.
One person. This town, one person. That's what you get.
It's our job, we get requests, we have had signs down.
But I went yesterday
So could you have-
and looked, and I had the patron of the surf club there and everything. He's saying, they're going bloody man, just tidy these things up, make them a bit smaller.
Would you have made a
what's wrong
recommendation
about
if someone had a complaint?
I agree.
Okay, then we just don't do anything.
No.
Just don't do anything.
I say do.
So do you want to move that way?
I'll see.
I second, yeah.
Okay, so we received the report.
Just receive the report and
And we hopefully, Ross or you people might maybe hear me talk about tidying it up, because it's very tired and old. And where those ones go around the trees, they could be, it might be with the plan that Ross is doing, you can make them neater and a bit smaller, so that might save a bit of problem, because they really look shabby. They look like they've been there for a very long time.
What's your thoughts about doing that?
My thoughts are, we raised this with you because we consider it's a safety issue. We've had one concerned resident raise the issue of the sign. We've raised this with the board as a potential safety issue there.
So you haven't provided any evidence of safety issues?
Well, this is the problem. In road safety, it is very difficult to actually, in this sort of situation, to bring evidence of a safety issue when there's
no accident.
when there's no accidents. It's got potential in our opinion.
It's
There's
crazy.
potential everywhere. I talked to one person that owns 2 up the road, and he laughed. He sits there and looks out there most of the time. He said, "What a crock."
Yeah, you can ban cars from all the roads in Whangamata if you want to take it to that.
Yeah.
There's a safety issue whether you've got cars and people.
Yeah.
Okay, we've agreed that, haven't we, anyway?
Yeah, so it's been moved by Tamsin, second by Kay. All those in favour?
Aye.
Yes, carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we're moving on to.
We're going to get this little break. We can go to 8:30.
Okay.
And I have to say, I looked at the standing orders, and you're not going to sit for any longer than 2 hours.
I thought it was 3.
2. Okay.
Hey Gary, I did try to get a
Can we do,
cappuccino.
can we do a coffee order and then pick it up in 10 minutes?
We'll break for 10 minutes if that's the will of the meeting.
No, you didn't hear.
I only want to break minutes, I want to have a coffee. It'll take me 5 minutes to walk down there and 5 minutes for it to arrive.
We can bring your coffee back. We'll reconvene at 11:20. Anyone wants to go and run down the road?
No, I just want to get through the day so I can tally the sports.
Oh, the Melbourne Cup.
Oh, no, my child's got a sports day today.
Okay.
No, I'm not going, but I'm always interested in it.
What have you got?
You're allowed a sweet steak? I normally pick the number out. Oh, that's not good. What's he done?
As soon as I get the forms out.
So I just.